morning in our service today is going to be drawing on some of the teachings that are in the month of the Descent in her mystery school, and what that month is, what these sensibilities address, are the times of life of a descent journey, meaning the times either in our personal lives or, for instance, right now as a whole culture, as a whole world, where we're facing an initiation that we didn't want and didn't choose, and therefore being asked to move into these deep feminine arts of surrender without submission, of soul forging, right? And of finding the current of resurrection and riding it through a descent journey, through a stripping away, right? So the words, the phrase that has come again and again for me as I've been preparing for this is a simple sentence, a simple imperative from our month of the Descent, which is, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, then it is not for you, not when you are vulnerable. Again, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you. It has no place in your world when you are vulnerable. And the truth is that we are all far more vulnerable than we even imagine right now, right? We're feeling it. Right? It's clear for many of us how vulnerable we are, meaning how much in the unknown we are, right? How much we are being forced into recognition of our humanness, of our smallness, and then of the bigness that rises up inside of that, right? So if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you, not when you are vulnerable. And all of us are in an extremely vulnerable state right now. Vulnerability, the state of vulnerability, is the state through which greater power always comes. They are married. It's the natural law. You can trust that. You can trust that entering this level of vulnerability may be uncomfortable, but it has a full fruition inside of it. You are being forged. You are being brought closer and closer to what's more deeply true inside of you and what's more deeply true inside of life. However, what I want to so strongly bring you close to, what I want us to come close to together, is this imperative to take care of ourselves, to take responsibility for the choices that we are making to bring things into our lives that do not bring comfort and that do not bring clarity. There's a simplicity, and we need, in the disorientation of these times where we're surrounded by the unknown and there's complexity and all of this, what we need is, we need to know what to orient to, and those things are actually very simple. And it's their simplicity that makes them so holy and such sources of mercy and strength. So if it does not bring clarity, comfort or clarity, it is not for you, not right now, right? Maybe never, right? So what does that mean? If it does not bring comfort, if it does not bring clarity, right? In the face of all that you cannot control, there, I'm sure, is much happening right now that doesn't bring comfort or clarity to you, right? There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of that angst of forcible change, right? Forcible growth. So we're not talking about reaching out to try to control all the things we cannot control. Surrender is the first action when you're in a descent journey, which we're in. Surrender. This is what is, right? Conserve your power. Don't fight against what you cannot change. Find what it is inside of it that you can trust. And what you can trust in this time, in this movement, is that you are on a descent journey. It does have sacred context. right? It does have resurrection as its ultimate fruition, but it must be walked, and it will be thorough. A descent journey usually isn't a true descent journey. It isn't a true soul forging unless there is at least one moment or many moments in which you cannot see outside of it, right? We don't make a journey of descent with this really sweet little, part of us always feeling really positive about it and sure that everything is going to work out in the end. That's not a descent journey, right? When you're in the midst of a descent journey, when things are being stripped away and you're being brought face to face with a soul forging, there will be at least one moment, maybe many moments, where you cannot see your way out of it. That is part of the soul forging. That is part of the stripping away and the work that the descent journey does in order to kind of take from you things that you may be valued, that you may be really loved, but that actually weren't necessarily resting on a strong foundation, that weren't resting on the truth, right? It is going to take away your sense of false self-sufficiency. It's going to kind of force you into an interdependence that may or may not be comfortable for you, right? It's going to make you vulnerable, right? And in your vulnerability, in the sense of your humanity, the fact that you are facing death of all kinds, that you cannot, there are things you can't control, that there is a smallness in you, a tenderness that needs holding, that needs greater holding. In that, the descent you will have moments where you cannot see out of it. And I don't want to try to tell you that those moments are going to go away. I can tell you, absolutely, that yes, in natural law, the descent journey has a resurrection inside of it. That's where this is heading. That doesn't mean that's what you're always going to feel. And when you don't feel that, when you are in it and you can't see out of it and you can't quite feel into what's emerging in you and you can't quite find your strength or whatever it is, or you feel so alone, those times are not mistakes, right? That's a part of it. That has sacred context as well. Those are the deep, raw places where soul starts to really find its way up through coarser, more dense places that we've accumulated, right, over our lives. So when you are in that place, know that it's okay. It has sacred context. Even when it feels separate from the fruition of life and separate from the things that feel good to you, that doesn't mean that it's dissociated from it. It just means that's where you are in the journey. And this is when you turn to comfort, right? And you allow the guardian presence inside of you, you allow the soul warrior presence inside of you to protect you, to hold the gates around you. When you're in a state like that, if it doesn't bring comfort, it doesn't come in. You do not need to give it time. You do not need to allow in a bunch of things from the media. You do not need to allow in conspiracy theory. Anything that doesn't comfort you has no place in that, right? Because you are emerging. You are in a time of soul forging, and it deserves reverence and protection. So what is comfort? Comfort is many things for you, right? It's usually relational, right? Meaning you reach out to a friend, you reach out to a mentor, you rest into your bed and you let it hold you, right? You have a cup of tea, you open to nature, right? You read something that comforts you, right? A lot of times what comfort is in these moments, especially when it gets really deep, it's prayer. Speak out, or silently in your heart, reach out for the one who made you, the one who sustained you, the one who will bring you home at the end of all of this. You are not alone. And it's our reaching out and our opening to that presence that gives her the space to come in and come close. A lot of times, what a descent journey does bring, one of the beauties that it does bring, as it strips us of all the kind of false confidences and securities that do not last, that are not rooted in an eternal presence. A lot of times the gift that it brings is it brings us back into an intimate connection with the grace of our own understanding, that presence. It pushes us so far into our need, into our true sacred need. And it strips us of all the ways we've distracted ourselves from it or made it so that we, didn't have to face that level of need, that level of fear, that level of smallness. It strips us of those things. And in that, we can overcome what Pixie Lighthorse calls prayer trauma. That so many of us, through various experiences of religion or dogma, have been a little traumatized around prayer and unsure. How do you reach out? How do we? It's simple. You speak from your sacred need, right? And there are so many sacred needs coming alive in all of us right now. The need to feel intact, the need to know what the next right move is, right? The need to be fortified in the face of death and to understand, have comfort, to feel the mercy of the bigger picture, the bigger holding, right? So there are sacred needs coming up during this time. And I encourage you to allow yourself to be you'll be an instrument of power. You'll be an instrument of comfort and love. And we're all going to go through different embodiments at different times. When you are an embodiment of sacred need, honor that. And let it guide you towards comfort. Let it guide you towards words of true prayer, right? Those things that say, please be with me. Please show me. I can't see and I don't know, right? So when you are vulnerable, if it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you. When you are in a time of soul forging, right? Which we're all in. So that was comfort, some words on comfort, some words on clarity. All right, clarity. You do need your sober guardian presence, this awareness inside of you. We are officially in a heroes and heroines journey, right? We're being with something that we knew would come. We knew there was a big something coming. I'm almost 100% positive that if you look inside, you knew, you felt the lack of sustainability, you felt the pressure, you could feel it building, that something was coming. And now there's this pause, right? There's this initiation and we're in it and there is no escaping it. Yet another indication that we're in a descent journey. There is no escaping the descent journey. You just walk it. And walking it is what it is, right? We don't bypass it. We don't escape it. It will make it so that we have to walk it. And maybe we don't like that so much. And it can be scary and it can hurt. And yet it will take us somewhere that we've always wanted to go if we allow it, if we align with it. Right? So clarity in these times, so important. Where are you going to most lose your clarity? Well, one place is going to be excess. And so I want to encourage you, invite you to get very stubborn and very radical around clarity. Meaning, guess what? You're not going to get the clarity that tells you this is what's happening and this is exactly what you should do and this is where it's all going. No way. We're in the unknown. We're going to be in the unknown for a while now. How you sit with the unknown is very much going to determine how the timbre, the way in which you move through this. What you're being initiated into, all of us, is a deeper level of that, how we sit in the unknown. So clarity is not going to come from control, and it's not going to come from excess and information. Clarity is going to come from you being willing to empty out, to release excess, and to allow what you know to actually come to the surface of you. Excess media, excess statistics, excess conflicting truths, right? Excess action, even excess good action, right? All the things that you know you should do to support your immune system, all the things that you should probably read, all the things that your friends are trying to tell you to make things feel better and make sure you're connected. To stay with clarity, you're going to need to honor that clarity comes from a certain amount of stillness and emptiness. Your clarity is not going to be able to get to you or to show itself to you when you're full of so many other things. So if it doesn't bring clarity, then I almost dropped the F-bomb. Then if it doesn't bring clarity, you push it outside of your gates. Okay. So I mean it. This is not a time. This is a time to yield, but it's not a time to submit. You must yield to what you cannot control, right? Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to blow yourself out and bleed out during this initiation. Ride the current of the initiation. Get on it. Choose it and take it. Don't act like you don't want this. Find what inside of you wants this and knows exactly how to get through it because you're made for it. Soul forging is something we're all made for. Choose this initiation. That's where your greatest power is. And choose it and then insist that nothing be with you if it doesn't bring comfort or clarity. To whatever extent, you have so much choice here in the face of all that you cannot control. And that is your power. That is you on the throne. Whatever it brings, yes, it's going to bring the death of a lot of things. It's going to bring change that you can't control. Your responsiveness and your ability to draw on deeper resource is what's being called for. So, clarity. Get your sword out. You don't have to entertain every conspiracy theory. It's not going to help anyway right now. You don't have to entertain every statistic, and you don't have to entertain every possible health action, everybody's possible emotion about this, right? Keep your vessel strong. And part of that has to do with keep it free of what isn't for you, right? And you know what that is. You can feel it. Something that brings comfort. Don't let yourself be fooled or distracted or kind of sabotaged by anything. This is a warrior's time. So you know if it doesn't bring comfort because it doesn't feel good. It feels like shit, right? It feels confusing. It feels like it's taking you away from yourself. It hardens you. It makes you afraid. It contracts you, right? Comfort. You know what containment is. You know what it is to be held in safety. You know what it is to feel protected. That's comforting. You know exactly what to move towards during these times. Let yourself do that, right? Same with clarity. As soon as something comes into your field or your awareness, you know if it's bullshit for you because it feels that way. Did it bring you to a sense of knowing? Did it bring you to a very specific action that you can take that you didn't already know that you need to take? Then maybe it's bringing clarity. Otherwise, it's just excess. And you don't have time for it because you're forging your soul right now. You have got serious work to do. You're in an initiation, right? Choose it. Take it. Why not? You have no other choice. This is not the first time for it to happen in your life, certainly not in mine, certainly not in the world, right? So it seems that I'm calling you forward this morning and I'm telling you, enough already. Get your sword out. keep it by you. That's what kind of time this is. That doesn't mean harden. In fact, it means the opposite. It means you're going to become more supple during these times. You're going to become a real warrior, right? All the ways in which you've been a warrior up until now that have been false yang, false expressions of the warrior, hardening, controlling, fighting, aggressing, gone. It's not going to help you. It is not going to help you, and you're going to be forced to recognize that. A true warrior is supple in her strength. She makes sure she's alive, that she's thriving, that she's solid inside of her power. She doesn't harden in order to express it. A warrior knows how much is out of her control. Almost everything, FYI, right? There is her realm of influence is what she has, and that's all that she has. So, my beautiful fellow warriors and warrioresses, this is where we are, right? And I know that there's deep vulnerability happening, and that's a good thing. That's what's going to keep your power real. That's what's going to open you to what's trying to open inside of you, right? The descent journey sucks every single time. It is not a journey of bliss. It is not the fulfillment of everything that you ever wanted. A descent journey is hard, right? We're talking about all the things, a pandemic, a divorce, death, right? Serious major illness, depression, right? On and on. I could go on and on, right? Always a descent journey is circumstantially not what you wanted. Nevertheless, when you surrender to it and you walk through the actual initiation that it's bringing, it will always bring you to greater love and greater power. That is its ultimate fruition, right? We give sacred context to the descent so we don't get lost in it, right? You will have moments where you feel completely disoriented, completely everything. You'll have those moments, but we give sacred context to the descent, and that's what means we don't get stuck in it. And that's what allows us to simultaneously be stripped bare and rise up at the same time. Because we know that the descent is part of a wider context. We know that sacred natural law always moves. Yeah, and yes, it moves through all the things, whether there's conspiracies, whether it happened for this reason or that reason, whether this is true or that is true. All the circumstantial truths that run on the surface of things cannot change natural law, and natural law will move. You will be initiated into something deeper than all the circumstances. That's what the descent does, right? It will bring you into greater love and greater power. So that's what we choose to align with today. Is the initiation. If it does not bring comfort or it does not bring clarity, it's not for you, not when you are vulnerable. So take that for a moment. What would change right now for you? Like, really look at it. In the way that you are holding this, in the way that you're holding your life, in the way that you're holding this pandemic, what would change? Just consider for me for a moment. Enter prayer, enter a moment of really listening. What no longer belongs close to you? And what does belong close to you? There's a deep feminine principle called following your pleasure. It's not rocket science. Follow your pleasure, right? And that doesn't mean just what you like, what fulfills all your fantasies in any given moment. Following your pleasure is following what feels good from a deeper place. You need to have that. You need to be able to follow your pleasure, meaning follow what comforts you, follow what brings clarity, and lean your power there. Open yourself to those things. Right? Turn away from and close the door to all else. You don't need it. It has nothing for you. Really. It's empty. When it feels like excess, when it's bringing further confusion or angst, it has nothing for you. You don't have to figure out what it might have for you. Right? We want to reduce the angst, suffering, discomfort, the stretch of growing into what we're growing into right now. That's going to be a thing, right? But the angst doesn't have to accompany it. We can suffer cleanly, right? And we do that by letting ourselves enter sacred need, calling out from sacred need for what we really know that we need, and not adding extra fuel to a fire that's already burning hot enough to forge us, hot enough to temper our blade. So, okay. So let's have a moment. I think that's enough of that for now. I want you to choose your initiation, whatever it is for you. And when you choose it, I want you to understand what it is, which is a soul initiation. And then I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to honor this initiation for what it really is. Because on the other side of this initiation, what you're becoming, we all need you to be. Right? This is a huge opportunity for us, personally and globally. We're going to need to stay deep, stay resourced, and follow the golden path through. So, blessed be, choose your initiation. If it does not bring comfort or clarity, it's not for you. Right? Let yourself align around that as even a simple mantra that you take to guide yourself through what's going to probably often be an excess of information and all these things. Thank you, Wendy, for being with us. I want to move into the next aspect of our service, which is to we're just going to do it for a couple of minutes because what I'm really wanting to make sure we do is the practice. So, but I want to take a few minutes. What if I say to you, choose your initiation? I challenge you to do that. And I challenge you to name what's emerging in you. What would it be? What are you being? I want you to find something, and you know it because you're going to be riding an edge of discomfort. It might feel right. But you're growing. You can feel yourself being forged. You can feel that you're initiating. So what is it? Anna says guardian. Christine says discernment. Nicole, pillar. Sovereignty. Letting go of control. Creativity, right? These are soul forgings, right? We're not saying, this isn't about circumstance. This is about what gifts, what gems, what powers are you accruing through this initiation in your being that cannot be taken away? The descent in all the stripping away, and sometimes it'll take everything, even the things you most loved, but it will leave you with what can never be taken away, ever. So what are those things? They're coming. Self-worth, surrender, the trees, spirit, creativity, right? The current of life inside of us. Self-respect. Audrey's saying giving herself space instead of expecting from herself. Divine partnership with life. Being a maker. Potency. The ability to truly rest into uncertainty, right? Creative expression. See, I told you so. You are all completely equipped for this initiation and for understanding what it is and what it's bringing. We just want to stay together in it, because initiations of this nature should not happen in isolation. That's when you get lost. Initiations always have at least one anchor, at least one guardian, at least a priestess, a shaman. When you're initiating through a soul initiation, there needs to be a guardian of that journey so that you can go through what you need to go through while you're initiating. Courage to show up and be seen. Partnership. Understanding true prayer. To stop leaking her energy for once and for all. Yeah, because you know what? The cost just skyrocketed for everything. That's part of what the descent does too. It pushes you to a place where it basically says, I love you. These things that you've been doing, this way that you've been living, it will never take you where I really want to take you, right? That's love speaking to you. I love you too much to let you keep leaking your lifeblood away. I love you too much to let you continue living without understanding how to be inside of the unknown. Right? I love you too much to let you keep living with this deep anxiety about death. I need you to come and face it with me so that you can be free. Right? There is a profound love moving through the descent. And the voice is that I love you too much to allow you to continue in this way. Right? So beautiful. Thank you. And Catherine, yeah, I just caught that. Blessings. Yeah. Kara saying showing up fully herself and as an offering of love. Yes. We are very much being also initiated into what and who we choose to serve every moment. You are an instrument. What will you be an instrument of? You are choosing every moment, whether you're conscious of it or not. And we're being, again, it's intense. Oh, it's kind of a narrow road, but it is also potentizing, right? This is how we gather power. This is how we, right? So who we serve is a question, a big question right now, because there's a lot of things moving, and underneath of it all is the motivation, what motivates us, what motivates others, and who are we serving? Okay, so let's go into practice. We have just a little bit more time together in our service. I'm so grateful to be having this time with you. The practice, what are we going to do here? I want to work with there's a video I sent out recently called Navigating a Pandemic, and it works a lot, it speaks to a lot around containment and containment and the movement towards containment that's happening right now, and how to align with that so that it's a power move rather than a feeling of imprisonment, right? So I'm not going to go through all of that. That's there for you if you want to kind of look more into containment. What I wanted to do is get a felt sense for containment, how it should feel, right? So a lot of us are in containment one way or the other. And how it should feel inside of you is something that you can trust and something that you want to know, so that you don't, again, so this is one of those things, you're going to have to choose this because it's what's happening, right? If you fight it, it's just going to get angsty. So choosing containment means, all right, then fine. I'm going to be contained. This is what you're bringing. Okay, fine. Not what I wanted maybe, but I'm going to take it. and asking for to be shown containment as uh, an art of life and an important life skill. This is the containment is the gathering of power. So I want us to actually feel that together so that you have something to orient to in the week ahead, in the weeks ahead, right? So containment, I want you to feel into, first of all, let's see. A container that gathers power or that holds something precious and keeps it safe is what we want to align with, right? We are not attuning to a prison, right? Or to entrapment. We are aligning to containment that holds what's precious, that protects it, right? So your container, the containment of this time for you, you want to find in your own being and even in how you're going about your quarantining or wherever, I don't know where you all are, but basically, if you feel into for a minute, just feel into your life energy. So your life energy being, notice if you settle into your being, and if you consider your life energy as a fluid presence inside of you, right? That has a movement to it, right? Like water. I want you to just get a quick snapshot of where your life energy is right now. Notice if you feel kind of frozen. We're working with it as water to kind of get a handle on it. So notice, do you feel frozen? Do you feel stagnant? Do you feel kind of toxified and a little like stagnant? Do you feel great? Do you feel clear and flowing? Do you feel like depleted, drained, like you're just leaking out your life energy? So take a moment with me. Yeah, turbulent. Michelle feels turbulent. Like you want to just get a sense of your life energy, your essential energy. It's what is going to keep you strong. Sheila says distracted, so we could say like dispersed almost, frozen, tense. So tense might also be like frozen. Like if you kind of simplify, like feel into it, like, okay, so I feel, and notice like if you thought of it elementally, giving yourself kind of a connection to it that isn't story based. Do you feel like you're leaking, like it's dispersing and just kind of going everywhere and depleting you? Do you feel like preparing to run over the waterfall? I love that. Yeah, so feel your life energy for a moment as water. Yeah. And then I want you to just around that feel a container, like just with your intention, with your awareness, like create containment. Right? I want you to create a container around your life energy. What that means, if there's a lot of, is that you're going to, for this moment, bring it all in, whatever it is. Is it turbulent? Does it feel like it has all this force moving in it? Does it feel frozen? Just bring a container around it. Lupe is saying her container is warm and slowly melting her frozen waters. And that's what I want to guide you toward, is that however you've kind of gotten on the pulse of your kind of life energy, if it feels frozen, if it feels leaky, if it feels turbulent, it feels like excessively hot, maybe boiling, see if you can get a sense of containment that would help your waters, help your life energy to come to a place of where it's available to you, it's moving, it's supple, it's clear, right? And it's contained and potentized, meaning you will choose when you pour that water out and in what direction, right? So when we work with practice like this, just in the imaginal realm, what you're doing is getting a purchase on your kind of more of your energetic state, more of, we're not attempting some kind of diagnostic here. We're just getting on the pulse. Yeah. So as you're moving into containment, whatever that is for you at this time, what you can do is keep checking in with your actual life energy and let that inform what you're doing. So if you're frozen, if that's where your energy is tending to go, if frozen and icy, that's a protective mechanism. That's understandable, right? The container around you should be holding your protection so that you can soften into it, right? The beauty of containment, which is so important anyway, all the time, is this. Well, there's a million beauties to it. So if you're frozen, your container is that which will hold protection for you. So you don't have to be so frozen. You can melt and open. And in that, you're going to find good life choices for yourself, even inside of whatever protective container you're setting for yourself right now. Right? Your container will be the thing that will help you keep your waters clear, right? Keep them from being polluted, and you don't have to think about it. You'll know what's polluting your waters if you really feel into it. And if you're leaking, if your energy and your awareness is dispersed in a million directions trying to either create the next thing or, read all the different, all over media, if you're dispersed, your container, like, come back in, gather those waters, right? When they're potent, they can guide you. So you're looking for, in your life energy, in your state of being, that your waters are gently flowing and potent and contained, so that you're not frozen, so that you have access to your life energy, so that you're not stagnant, unable to move, so that you're not toxifying your pure inner spring, so that you're not leaking your power out everywhere, right? And so that you are holding the potency that's building and choosing how it's going to move, right? So that, like, I forget, Noelle was saying something about being right at the edge of a waterfall, like to be able to contain and hold that power for a minute and then say, and now we go. Now I go, right? There's agency. Containment restores agency. And in the face of so many changes that we can't control and so many things that we don't know, agency, true knowing is really important. Like, we need to come back again and again to this enthroned place where we're sitting on at least where our will force does live. And, when it comes down to it, we already knew that there was a lot that we don't control. We already knew that. We already knew that the only power we have is the will force that's right here, right? And the presence and the power that's right here, and the choices that we make in the life that's presenting itself right around each of us. We knew that already. So we're just going to keep reminding ourselves to come back to that, this place of agency, and this very simple practice of just noting. And I really do, Note your life energy as water. Use that. Use this elemental suggestion to connect you into it so it doesn't become a complex story and it doesn't get psychologized and it doesn't become this huge process. You want to be able to just, where are my waters right now? You'll know. Where am I? Oh, yeah, I'm feeling really frozen right now. Okay, where's that container again? All right, there it is. I'm going to warm and soften into this container. I'm going to choose to do that, right? Where are my waters right now? You know, oh God, I feel so stagnant and disgusting. You know, that's how you know you've taken in a lot more media and many other things than you did that you didn't need. But I feel whatever, disgusting. So where's that container? All right. How can you contain pure waters? Let the rest of it go. Right? So that's the invitation. That's the soul tonic practice. That's the deep feminine practice I invite you into is water tending your waters and tending them within their container. Coarse water has a container. Nectar has a container. Holy oils have a container, right? The inner sanctum is inside of a temple, right? Containment is amazing, and it's not something our overculture has been very good at. Our overculture is much more an exposure and an exposure culture, right? So this is a big initiation on a whole bunch of levels. So as you move forward, just working with your container and your waters, simple, let it be simple. And you're just, what's going to happen is if Yuvia says, she says this in the best of ways, but twice now I've made her laugh. Great. um, the practice to take forward. Here's what you're bringing forward with you among whatever else you've gotten from this service. This to orient around. If it does not bring comfort or clarity, it is not for you, not when you are this vulnerable. Period. There's nothing in it for you if it does not bring comfort or clarity. The other thing to take away is this simple check-in, because you're about to navigate containment for probably quite some time. So containment in your own being, let's just keep it simple there. Where are your waters? Where is your container? And just tend to that, right? When you can get connected to your inner being through things like the elements and the information that comes through practices like this, then you can shift your inner being, right? And when you make that shift, you'll start to understand how to take information from your inner being into your outer world. So if you check in and you keep checking in, and every time you check in, your waters are stagnant and they're toxic and you feel, then you know what changes you need to make. It's not that you need to you're not dealing with being frozen. What you're dealing with is excess toxicity, right? So you know how to make changes then in your world. And if you come in and every time you're frozen, then you know what to do. There'll be actions that suggest themselves, right? In your life. So we're sourcing wisdom and guidance from an internal knowing of ourselves, of our being, and we're letting that then inform our choices, right? So this isn't just as if it could just be a check-in on your internal world, but it's not, it's both, right? Okay. So thank you all so very much for being with me today. I'd love to close in a prayer together. I'm really happy that you've been sharing in the chat and connecting with each other, it seems like. Yeah. So let's have a prayer. Let's join in prayer for a moment together and close in that way. So if you can, if it's safe for you to close your eyes, otherwise just soften inward. Are you going to take a few breaths and just let all my words kind of soften away from you, just leaving you with the actual nectar of this time, the gems, the power moments that are yours. Just take a moment. Beloved shepherdess, the one who guides, the one who knows, torchbearer at the crossroads, we turn to you. We open to know you through these times and through all times, through our own hearts, through the hearts of others. We surrender to this initiation. We will choose it if you are with us. And we know that your promise is that you will be with us, that you will enter any darkness to find us, that you will nourish us with the good. We ask that you be near, that you stay near, that you make yourself felt in our lives. We need to feel you. We need to be touched by you. We want to walk the golden path through this time. We want to ride current of resurrection that moves through every descent. Make us brave. Give us courage. Make us stubborn and rebellious enough. Let us need you. Make us supple and soft enough. Thank you for bringing us together this morning. Thank you for holding us in your golden net. We commit again to being instruments of your love and your grace and your greater power, whatever circumstances we may face. Blessed be. Blessed be. So thank you all very much for being with me. We will have Sunday service next Sunday too. So maybe I'll see you there. Would love to see you there. And in the meantime, I very much believe in you. You're going to become more than you ever imagined. We all are. Blessed be. So much love.